rustling isn't just something in the old westerns. Nearly 200 head of cattle appear to have been stolen from ranches out on the West Slope. Investigators tonight are trying to figure out just how they did it.
We begin in Weld County with those cattle theft cases. Crimes are hitting ranchers really hard. In recent months, dozens of cattle have vanished from herds, costing ranchers hundreds of thousands of dollars collectively.
Black Angus cattle have vanished from multiple ranches in Weld County, and deputies now believe the animals were stolen, not lost.
One rancher tells me that he first noticed something was off at the end of October. Some of his cows were missing, so he scoured his property looking for them and couldn't find them. He checked his fences for any issues. There weren't any. So that's when he went to his neighbor's property to ask if somehow his cows got mixed in with their herd. And that's when he found out he wasn't alone in missing cows.
Here in Weld County have been discovering missing cattle, but there's no broken fences, no tracks, nothing left behind.
It's a way of life.
One time it was sheep and cattle, but now it's cattle ranch.
Vermont Snyder, who spoke with us over the phone from the Western Slope.
We're now short 26 head of calves. We've seen nothing. They're gone.
Multiple ranchers recently walked their pastures expecting routine fall checks, only to discover some cattle simply weren't there.
When we went back 30 days later, that's when we started noticing.
Sanger checked every fence, every gate, even the ranch entrance. Nothing, no tracks, no break-ins.
So I'm not sure how they got in, but there was nothing left open or any fence down where they could have gotten out. So I spent about 2 weeks just combing the pastures trying to find anything.
The only one. Collectively, several ranchers are missing roughly 180 cattle from the Uncompahgre Plateau in southwest Montrose County.
I have some theories, but I can't really expand on that right now.
Yeah, it hit me at that point. I'm like, we got something going on here.
Deputies confirmed 14 missing Black Angus cattle across multiple herds. Each one Sanger lost is worth thousands, with his total loss estimated at $33,000.
Those are worth anywhere from $3,000 to $4,200. The older cows that are proven, 2 and 3 year olds, 4 year olds, they're still up around that $3,500.
And always lose some to predators, to accidents, to poisonous weeds, things like that. But the 180 is just far more than normal. That leads us to believe that something nefarious has been happening to the cow.
So prices rising and America's herd shrinking. The theft has wider implications, not just for ranchers, but also for beef prices nationwide.
Which cattle are missing? Mainly calves.
And it's just odd that it's just mostly calves missing. And that's, again, another red flag for us that something else is going on.
The smaller the cow, the easier to get it into a trailer, if that's what happened.
It's a large area, and it's all public land that these cattle were on. So to have an actual crime scene, if you will, is we don't have one. And now majority of that's buried in snow.
If this continues to happen, everybody's so concerned about the current cost to the consumer of beef. Well, this is another hit.
Sanger also worried thieves may be hauling cattle to neighboring states where inspection rules are looser and ownership changes aren't strictly monitored.
Is there any estimated cost for how much 180 cattle totals to dollar amount?
I don't think it's off topic to say that it's anywhere between $300,000 and $400,000 worth of cattle.
Nearly 200 cattle seemingly disappeared.
Deputies are asking anyone with any information about the missing cattle to reach out to the sheriff's office.
Well, good evening, everyone, and I'm really excited that you're all here. We're here for a really important cause, not only for Colorado's 150th birthday, which is great, and on behalf of Leatherwood Development Group, our sponsors, our volunteers, our incredible guest speakers tonight, and everyone who helped make tonight possible, thank you for being here. And whether you drove across town or you traveled from the other side of Colorado, your presence means a great deal to us. And tonight is more about just a fundraiser. It's about neighbors helping neighbors and Coloradans taking care of Coloradans. But before we begin our program, I ask we just take a moment to pause. And if you could, gentlemen, if you could remove your hats if you're wearing them. Before we begin our program, I just want to let everyone know that our hearts are with the families of the entire Eaton community after their heartbreaking tragedy that claimed the lives of 3 young men, Cash, Jack, and Cooper. And no family should ever have to endure that kind of loss, and no community should ever have to carry that kind of heartbreak. So please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, tonight we lift up the families of Cass, Jack, and Cooper. We pray that you surround them with your peace, comfort, and strength during this unimaginable time. We pray for the survivors as they continue to heal, for the first responders who answered the call, and for every family member, friend, teacher, and neighbor whose life has forever been changed. Lord, remind us that in these moments of tragedy, communities always come first. Help us love one another, support one another, and never take for granted the time that we have with those that we care about. Give the people of Eaton hope in the days ahead and the courage to continue moving forward. In your holy name we pray, amen. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Adam Dorito. I'm a captain in the United States Army Reserve in Civil Affairs, and I'm also an oil and gas worker out here in Weld County. I've done that for almost over 15 years now, and I'm a substitute teacher like a few days a year at St. Mary's Catholic School. It's actually my favorite job. Actually, some of the kids are in this room right now. I just make them do push-ups when they get their math wrong. And when people think about Colorado, they think about the mountains and the rivers and the incredible landscapes around this state, but Colorado wasn't built on scenery alone. It was built by the hardworking men and women who believed in honest work, faith, and family, and taking care of their neighbors. And for generations, those families have worked from sunrise to sunset, through snowstorms, droughts, floods, and everything in between. And they didn't ask for recognition. They simply do the work because they know millions of Americans depend on them every single day. Cattle theft is not something that begins in the history books. It's something that's happening today, and it's organized, and it's sophisticated, and it costs ranching families hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And every stolen animal represents months and sometimes years of hard work that can disappear overnight. And that is why we are here. Tonight's just not another dinner, it's providing a real solution. And speaking of solutions, we have a lot of state representatives and members of Congress who always say they support our ranching and farming industries. How many state representatives are in this room right now? One. Just want to point that out. Thank you for being here. I'm going to go off script here because this is what I do. A lot of these guys, I support the farmers and ranchers. I support our cattle industry. Just give me another $10,000 and let me put my yard sign in front of your ranch. Oh, sorry, we didn't get anything done. But in the next 2 years, if you could give me another $10,000, like if I put my sign out in front of your ranch, I'd appreciate your support. Well, we're providing real solutions directly. Last week, a team of Leatherwood Development Group guys and another volunteer organization, we raised $4,000 in less than a week to immediately go supply the evacuees of the Aspen Acres fires victims and survivors to help them with their immediate needs because no one was doing it. We just did it. And normally, Leatherwood Development Group, when I started this advocacy company, it was mostly military veterans. I spent years in D.C. That's where I met our wonderful guest speaker here, Miss Elizabeth Haney, who will speak later tonight. Yes, round of applause for Elizabeth. She's a great woman. But obviously, it's midterms, and everyone's just worried about money, and no one really cares about veteran issues right now. So I decided to take my company and all my volunteers, and we were going to focus on local constituent issues directly. So instead of just talking about it, we're going to do it. And this is not a political event. I invited everybody, Democrats, Libertarians, Republicans, the guy down the street, whose name is Bob, I guess, everybody. Because this is something that affects our farming and ranching communities. And Weld County is the fourth largest producer of beef in the United States, one of the largest slaughterhouses in the country. This is a national food security issue. And if these guys are losing their cattle every year, and then, our deputies are going out there, they take their report, they put it in an Excel file sheet, they upload it to the internet, and they say, let us know if you find them. It's not proving the object of what we're trying to do, and that's trying to find these guys. So I'm excited because what we're going to do is we're actually going to provide a direct solution. We are going to fund the state brand inspector, and hopefully in the future have more of these events where all the hard-hit counties are going to get an extremely advanced military-grade, civilian accessible, doesn't shoot missiles. I'm sorry to all the ranchers and farmers out there, you can't shoot people with the drones, it's illegal. This isn't Yellowstone. This isn't like, going to the train station or something. We're going to provide them new technology. I spent the last 3 weeks with my wonderful volunteers going to all the livestock auctions, and a lot of these guys, they want handshakes, and they still write checks, and they don't carry anything but cash. And a lot of these guys get promised a lot of empty promises. And I told them, I'm going to provide you a new asset that, doesn't require you on horseback or an ATV or walking around your land for days on end, trying to do the hard work of counting cattle and finding broken fences and broken gates. So this drone's going to save them a lot of time. And this drone is going to provide the state brand inspector new ways of trying to actually stop and find the people that are doing it. And the great part is It could be used in conjoint with the sheriff's office, search and rescue, wildfire detection, whole sort of suite of capabilities that they currently just don't have. So tonight on your tables, you're going to find QR codes where you can make a donation throughout the evening at any point in time. Just scan it with your phone and donate us anything from $1 to anything more than that. Every donation, every bid, and every dollar raised goes directly towards equipping the state brand inspector with this asset. Colorado has always been strongest when communities come together, and they've seen it through floods and wildfires and like the tragedies we saw in Eaton, and we're going to see it again tonight. We're not going to sit on the sidelines waiting for someone else to solve our problems. We're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to get it done. So thank you for believing in this mission. Thank you for supporting the men and women who feed America. Thank you for standing with our state brand inspector. And most of all, thank you for proving that when Colorado comes together, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. I hope you all enjoy the evening, and let's make a real difference together. And the next video I'm going to show you is the capabilities of the asset that we're going to be donating to the state brand inspector. Thank you so much.
Being the first to respond makes all the difference. Introducing the next generation of compact flagship drones, DJI Matrice 4 series. Experience exceptional camera performance, powerful onboard computing, and advanced sensing features, all in a compact and portable design.
Before I start my speech tonight, and it's going to be long, I apologize. I'm sure you'll be happy when I say the words "in closing" by the time I'm done. But before I begin, I would love to honor, if there's any elected official in here or anybody running for office currently, please stand up for just a second. Thank you guys so much. You'll hear in my speech tonight a lot about showing up. Thank you for showing up. My name is Erik Holt. I'm a United States Iraq war veteran, a career fireman, and public servant. And most importantly, a father to 2 girls I've raised as a single dad. I served this state as a fire chief, and 3 years ago, the government I spent my whole life serving fired me for exposing corruption and telling the truth to a criminal investigator. Now, you'd expect a man who lost everything he ever worked for, his career, his title, his home, and his community, to walk in here bitter. But look at me, I am not bitter. I came here believing that this country is worth fighting for, and that fight can be won, and that the people who are going to win it aren't in Washington. They're in rooms like this one. I'm looking at them right now. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about 2 things every person in this room lives every day. The first is ground. Every acre in this county has a name on it. And you don't tend your ground for a bureaucrat 1,000 miles away. You tend it because it's yours, because your name is on it. A man's ground is more than the land beneath his feet. It's the foundation of his character, his principles, and the truth he stands on. Well, hear me. Your community is ground too. The fire district, the school, the water, the town. Your name is on all of it, whether you tend it or not. The second is the call. In the fire service, everything begins with a call, and the whole system rests on one sacred promise. When the call comes, somebody answers, not somebody far away, somebody close. Ranch country runs on the same promise. When the grass catches or the baler goes down or a stock trailer rolls out of a pasture at 2 a.m. with your neighbor's brand inside. Nobody waits for permission and nobody waits for Washington. Neighbors answer. Put those two together and you have this whole speech. You have local citizenship in one sentence. Know what ground is yours and answer it when it calls. That sentence has another name. Before this night's over, I'm going to give you a definition of patriotism, probably different from any you've ever heard at a political event. I didn't write it for a crowd. I wrote it in the dedication of a book. To my 2 daughters. My story is what happens when a man's ground calls and he answers. What it costs and why it's worth every penny. So let me tell it. May 2nd, 2023, Election Day in my special district. If you've never heard of a special district election, that's not an accident. That's the design flaw. These races run in May, off cycle, no spotlight, a few hundred votes, sometimes fewer. These decide who controls your taxes, your water, and whether a fire engine rolls when your family dials 911. And almost nobody is tending them. Hold on to that. When I took over that district, it was a small operation, barely running on fumes. We built it into a department of 62 responders from 5. We responded quicker from 18 minutes down to 7. And we built something bigger than a roster, a culture. When the call comes, you go, professionally, with skill and dedication. You run towards the thing everybody else is running from, because a neighbor's life depends on your willingness. That's the fire service. That's this country. That is America at its best. On Election Day, my role was custodial by design. The night before, I walked the polling room with the election official and showed her every camera so that the privacy screens would shield every single ballot. In the morning, I unlocked the door, handed her an extension cord, and I went to work from home. I didn't vote, I didn't stay. The election was hers. My job was to run the fire department. And that afternoon, the call came. A medical call, collapsed into cardiac arrest. CPR in progress. A medevac helicopter inbound. The landing zone, our fire station parking lot. The same lot full of voters and candidates. I cleared that landing zone and everybody moved, except for 3 men. 3 candidates running to govern the fire department. Sat on the tailgate of a truck and watched while my firefighters fought for a dying neighbor in defiance of my request to clear the scene. They didn't lift a finger. And minutes later, one of them even drove his truck straight through my traffic control point, during patient care under spinning rotors. I just filed it away. I had a job to do. I climbed into that ambulance and took over chest compressions, and we fought for that man for 30 minutes. He didn't make it. And then I did what leaders do. I knocked on a door, I sat with a family, and I told them. I comforted them. 2 kinds of people were in the parking lot that day. The kind who answer calls, and the kind who watch from a tailgate. And here is the question that should keep every American up at night. Which kind is running your government? Because the ballot cast in that parking lot decided who commands the people who answer when your loved one's heart stops. That's what local government is. And it's not a stepping stone to somewhere more important. There is nowhere more important. It's who shows up for your family on the worst day of your life. Tell me that ground isn't worth fighting for. Now, the call doesn't always come out as a tone at 2 in the morning. Sometimes it comes at the post office, the gas station, or the local market. In the days after that election, that's exactly how it came to me. Someone filmed while voting, a poll watcher paying voters, someone using counting devices to track votes, a single report you may set aside. But they kept coming. Different people who had never compared notes, and a pattern that stops asking for your attention and starts demanding your conscience. I had a decision to make, alone. Our cameras at the fire station had recorded that entire day. The footage existed on a server, waiting for one person with the courage to ask for it. And I knew exactly what asking meant. As long as I didn't look, I was safe, comfortable, protected. Looking was choosing to know. And once I knew walking away was not something I was capable of doing, because that's not how I'm built. And I suspect it's not how you're built, because you're in this room tonight. I won't pretend it was easy. I'm a single father. I walked away from an 18-year federal firefighting career to take a fire chief to build a stable life for my 2 girls. And every good argument lined up to testify. Someone else will handle it. It's not your lane. Think of your girls. One night, I sat on the edge of my bed, and I asked the question out loud, because even alone, some decisions deserve to be spoken. Are you prepared for what comes after your bosses find out? Are you prepared for what this could cost you and your girls? Are you willing to see this through to the end, no matter the cost? And out loud, I answered, yes. Because it's the only choice. Because it's the right thing. Friends, that's all courage is. It isn't absent of fear. It's a call, answered out loud at the edge of your bed, when nobody's watching and everything's on the line. I'm still here because I answered yes. Despite what the cost has been, the fight has not ended, because I answered yes. Yes, I will see this through to the end, no matter what it costs. Years later, I tried to put that into words. I wrote in the dedication of my book, not to a crowd, not to a court, to Kaylin and Aubrey, my girls. And here's what I wrote to them. Patriotism, the real kind, is not the flag, it is not the anthem, and it is not the parade. It is what you do on a regular Tuesday, when you see something that is wrong and you have a choice between speaking up and looking away. That is the moment patriotism is decided. Everything else is decoration. Because in the mundane Tuesday, when something is wrong, you step up, you mirror the same risk our founding fathers endured so that we could inherit this amazing country. In God, we trust. I think growing up, my understanding was the cost was paid for by our founding fathers and the bloodshed of our heroic veterans. I now understand the cost is something that we all pay every boring Tuesday to protect what we inherited. We all must understand that charge. Nobody was listening at the edge of that bed. No cameras, no anthem playing, nobody to give me credit with an attaboy pat on the back, and no one to blame me if I just left it to pass. And that, right there, is the whole point. The small actions we take when nobody is listening, that's where patriotism actually lives. Anybody can love this country in a stadium with 100,000 people singing. The question is whether you'll love it alone, in the dark, and at a price. People ask me all the time, was it worth it? The book's title contains the cost of integrity for a reason. I've spent 3 years itemizing that bill, but here's the truth I wrote to my daughters. In all that time, I have never once had to look at what staying quiet would have cost me. The price of looking was steep. The price of looking away was one I could not afford, because I could not be the father I wanted those two girls to have. And I could not be the kind of man who looks away from what he has seen. Those two things were not compatible, and I had to pick one. I picked them. The next day, I took off the uniform, put on civilian clothes, and drove my truck to the local Walmart. Bought a thumb drive with my own money, on my own time, at my own risk. I obtained and paid for the footage as a private citizen from a third-party company. And when I had watched all the footage and was sure of what I had seen, poll watchers filming voters, poll watchers paying voters, poll watchers tabulating votes with counting devices in concert with the candidates, I called the district attorney's office. I gave him everything I had, and he in turn opened a criminal investigation. 33 days after that meeting with the investigator, on June 22nd, 2023, the board, who was under active criminal investigation, fired me. In a public meeting, in a room full of folding chairs set out for my neighbors, and many of those chairs were empty, because in small communities, people don't like to stand up when they see wrong. 23 years of fire service ended in front of an audience that was hardly there. Remember those empty chairs that night. My community's ground was calling as loud as ground can call, and the room stood silent. Never again, not here, not on your ground. I want to tell you about the drive home that night, because that is no part of any court record. 10 minutes of road I had driven 1,000 times, and I don't remember a single mile of it. All I remember doing is trying to find the words, knowing that I had to walk into our family room and tell two girls that the life they'd been counting on had just changed shape. I sat in the driveway. I still didn't have the words, but I went inside anyways, and I told them the truth, because it was all that I had left to give them. Their father had no job, no salary, and no way of providing for them. And what they gave back is the reason I'm standing on this stage. They did not respond with fear. They didn't ask if we'd be okay. My two little girls looked at their dad on the worst night of his career and told him, "You'll figure it out. We'll be fine. We believe in you." They handed me that belief without hesitation, before I'd given them any reason to extend it. And it became the ground that I stood on through everything that came after. Friends, please remember that. When somebody on your ground answers the call and takes the hit for it, your belief in them might be the only ground that they have left to stand on. Give it the way my girls gave it to me, without hesitation. Now, why does one fire chief's story matter to a room in Weld County? Because it is not a fire chief's story. There are tens of thousands of special districts in America, levying billions in taxes, running the services your family touches every day. Elected exactly the way I described. Off-cycle, invisible, often unwatched. And there's a word for what happens to ground nobody tends. Captured. A small, organized group takes an office, a distracted majority left unattended. No conspiracy required. Just an open gate and a handful of ballots. James Madison warned us about this before the Constitution was even ratified. In Federalist 10, he gave it a name: faction. A group united not by the common good, but by private interest that runs against the rights of their neighbors. And Madison understood something we have forgotten. The smaller the political arena, the fewer people a faction has to have to organize and seize control. He warned that people of factious tempers, local prejudices, or sinister designs could obtain the votes. and then betray the interests of the people who gave them power. That is not an 18th century abstraction. That is a May special district election decided by 200 ballots. A faction doesn't have to persuade the whole community. It only has to outnumber the citizens who showed up. And a tiny minority becomes the governing majority in the room. I'm not describing a theory, my friends. I'm describing my fire district. An empty chair casts no vote. You've seen the headlines when it finally surfaces. The school board that replaces the American flag with a pride flag in our children's classrooms. The water district bled dry before anyone noticed. Big cities seizing our water rights. Each one of those stories has the same unprinted first chapter. An election almost nobody voted in. What happened in my district isn't the exception. In too much of America, it has quietly become the rule. The only unusual thing about my story is that I'm still standing here, telling it. Because I promised, in a dark room to an audience of just myself, that I would, no matter what it took from me. And I know what you're thinking, because I thought it too, that's what the courts are for. So I did everything right. I hired an attorney. I filed a federal lawsuit, and I have fought for the last 3 years. The legal bills, the career on hold, my daughters seeing their dad's name in the local paper. And on July 7th of this year, the federal Court of Appeals ruled against me. I will say it plainly, because I did not come here to spin you. I lost. But hear how I lost. Read it on the screen. Because the how is why I'm standing on this stage. No court ever decided whether that board retaliated against me or even if their story was true. Under a doctrine invented by 5 Supreme Court justices 20 years ago. An employee who speaks as part of his duties, and this is the actual holding, is not speaking as a citizen at all. Sit with those words for a moment. In America, not a citizen at all. The law looked at a man who swore an oath and wore a uniform and told the truth to a criminal investigator and ruled that somewhere between that oath and the truth, the citizen inside the uniform had ceased to exist. So, the First Amendment never even got to enter the room. And no jury of my fellow citizens ever heard a single fact. Not one. And read the rest of the sentence on the screen, because it gets worse. The court ruled that my speech, their words, commissioned by my employer. Commissioned. The truth I told to a criminal investigator on my own time, with footage I bought with my own money, at my own risk, commissioned by this very same board that fired me for it 33 days later. It enjoys no First Amendment protection. Think about what that ruling actually does and what precedent it trains a public servant to be. It trains him to look away, to stay in his lane, to understand that, that exposing corruption and defending our ground is above his pay grade, and that silence is the safest thing that he owns. That is the public servant this doctrine is building in every firehouse and agency in America. I refuse to be that sort of public servant. I couldn't let that stand as the last word. So I did what probably nobody expects from a fire chief. I rebelled, as our forefathers would have. I used the very First Amendment rights these judges said I didn't have. I published my book the day after the ruling. I spent time in the founding documents, and I wrote a scholarly paper as a second rebellion. It's called The Citizen Behind the Office, and its arguments I'll fit into just one sentence. No American surrenders his rights at the door of public service. The men who built this country would have laughed that doctrine out of the room. Thank you. They listed the loss of trial by jury among the grievances in the Declaration of Independence itself. They refused to ratify the Constitution until a Bill of Rights, which contained the civil jury, was guaranteed. The jury was a price of America, and here's what I found when I went looking for it. Jury trials now resolve 1/3 of 1% of federal civil cases that defend our Constitution. 1/3 of 1%. Nobody ever repealed the 7th Amendment. Nobody would have dared. That room just quietly emptied through court precedent set one ruling at a time until our rights have been removed, just as the anti-federalist Brutus warned us of. And here's a detail I didn't plan, but I'll carry it the rest of my life. That ruling came down on a Tuesday. The same kind of Tuesday I wrote to my daughters about. So let me say it plainly. The court had its Tuesday. I had mine. And of the two, mine is the only one my daughters will inherit. The day that ruling came down, they thought they'd heard the last of me. They took my badge. They could not take my voice. They took my title. They could not take my truth. They ruled the citizen had vanished into the office, and the citizen is standing right here. And that fight taught me the single most important lesson I've ever learned about this republic, the one I came here tonight to hand to you. Nobody far away is coming to answer for us. Not the courts, not Washington, nobody. When your ground calls, there has only ever been one roster, and it's us. The founders built it that way on purpose. And my third rebellion is standing at this podium tonight. To the panel of judges that tried to silence my truth and to snuff out the First Amendment. Listen, hear me now. Don't tread on me. Everything I just told you, the election, the firing, the fight, and every lesson it burned into me, I wrote it all down. The book is called Free Speech, Retaliation, and the Cost of Integrity. It's on Amazon through the QR code on the screen, and tonight we'll even auction a signed copy for the cause that brought us here. And for those who want the deeper argument I made to the law schools of this country, the paper is called The Citizen Behind the Office. You'll find it on my social media and on Substack under Justice for Holt. You already know who the book is dedicated to, and now you know why. So let me put the central claim of this speech into one sentence. Local citizenship is not the minor leagues of being an American. It is the thing itself, not a stepping stone, not practice for something bigger, the ground where self-government actually lives. Don't take my word for it, follow the logic. Where did the decisions that touch your family actually get made? Your water, your land, your assessments, your kids' school. None of that is decided in Washington. It's decided in rooms 10 minutes from your front door by people who have to look you in the eye at the feed store on Saturday. That is not a flaw in the system. That is the system. Accountability you can drive to. This is your ground. And a people that lets its own ground go untended will lose the whole ranch, one unwatched gate at a time. Because self-government is a muscle, and it has only ever been built on home ground. This is your ground. Before I give you your charge, I want to speak directly to the families in this room and to everyone who lives the life. Because I didn't come here to teach you anything about character. I came to tell you that the code you live by is the thing that this country is starving for. Think about what that code actually is. Your word is your bond. A handshake in a sale barn still means more than a 50-page contract in a city tower. You ride for your brand, you close the gate behind you every time, because the man who leaves it open makes his problem everybody's problem. And when a neighbor's in trouble, nobody takes a vote and nobody sends an invoice. You just go. Nobody brands alone, nobody harvests alone, nobody buries alone. That is the cowboy way, and it was never just a way to run cattle or to farm. It is the original operating manual of the American Republic. You people have been answering calls and tending ground together your whole lives. You just maybe never called it citizenship. It's the purest form of it there is. And that brings me to why I'm standing in this room, because this event is that code in action. You're losing cattle. Rustling isn't a campfire story from your granddad's day. It's happening right now, on your ground, and it's costing families in this room their livelihoods and real money. And you know the arithmetic better than any politician ever will. There aren't enough brand inspectors, there aren't enough deputies to ride every fence line in this county. And understand, rustling is the oldest version of everything I've described tonight. Rustlers count on empty range the way factions count on empty chairs. What they do to your herds in the dark, bad actors do to your districts in broad daylight. And the answer to both is the same: somebody watching. The politicians who failed me are the same breed failing you. They'll take your money and taxes, they'll take your vote every November, and then they'll leave the cattle gate open every single time, because a problem left unsolved keeps you coming back to them, hat in hand. Well, look around. Tonight, this room is doing what ranch country has always done, when government can't or won't, solving it ourselves. Together. That thermal drone you're here to fund puts eyes in the sky over your herds. For the brand inspectors chasing stolen cattle, and for the fire department and deputies in this county, when a neighbor goes missing or the grass catches at 2 a.m. Hear me as a fire chief. I know exactly what a thermal drone overhead is worth when seconds count and the light is gone. That drone is not a gadget. It is another set of eyes riding the fence line. Bought by neighbors for neighbors, because nobody in the Capitol was ever going to buy it for you. So here is the most concrete call I'll give you tonight. When that auction opens, dig deep. Every dollar in that drone says Weld County does not wait for permission to protect its ground. So here is your charge, Weld County. 5 calls for every day after tonight, everyone built for answering together. 1, know your ground. Tomorrow, name every district your family lives in and the people who run them. 15 minutes on the county website, and you'll know your own government better than 9 out of 10 Americans. You wouldn't buy an acre of land without walking the fence. Walk these. 2, answer the ballot every time it calls. Every May election, every November election, every district race. Make it what a branding is, a date the whole outfit shows up for. 5 households voting together in a race decided by 200 ballots is more raw power than you will ever wield in a presidential year. Use it. 3, put someone in the seat. Boards sit captured and empty across this country because good people keep assuming somebody else will do it. Look around this room. Somebody in here should be on a board next cycle. Maybe it's you, or maybe it's your neighbor. And if it is, you get behind them with your name, your time, and your truck. This is your ground. 4, and I promise you, no political speeches ever probably ask you for this one. But when the summons comes in the mail, trial jury, grand jury, any of it, answer it. Don't groan, don't dodge. I learned the value of that room by being denied it. It is the one place in government where ordinary citizens sit in judgment of power instead of the other way around. And it only exists if we fill the room. So serve. and raise your kids to treat that summons like what it is, the Constitution of the United States of America, calling the citizen behind every office, every uniform, and every kitchen table in this country by name. When the Constitution calls you by name, you answer. And 5, the one that matters more than all the others put together, the patriotism charge. When you see something on your ground you know is wrong, answer the call. Get involved. I don't care how small it is. A number that doesn't add up in a district budget, a truck and trailer on a neighbor's place that does not belong there, a meeting that keeps happening behind closed doors. Stand up, speak up, step in. Ask the questions out loud. Put your name on the letter. Take the microphone at a public comment, even if your voice shakes. Because every wrong that ever took root in America took root the same way. Good people saw it and decided it wasn't their lane. I sat on the edge of my bed and answered that call with everything I had on the table. My career, my name, my title, my home, my community, and my girl's future. And knowing every cost, knowing exactly how it ends. I would answer it again tonight without blinking. Because out here, you don't ride past a downed fence. You don't leave the gate open and call it somebody else's pasture. Looking away is not the cowboy way. It is not the American way, and it has never once been the Patriots' way. So I'm not asking you to do one thing that I didn't do. I'm asking you to do exactly what I did. Look. No. Answer the call. I don't know how my case ends. I'm still in the fight, in the courts, tomorrow, next week, next month, and until this battle is won. But I know exactly how the American dream goes if rooms like this one decide to act, because free people tending their own ground, answering for their own neighbors, is the one force in America that has never once been defeated. From Lexington and Concord to this event tonight, patriotism is undefeated. Please join me in my fight. We, the people. So, when the May ballot comes, answer the call. When the board meets and the chairs sit empty, answer the call. When the politicians leave the gate open every single time, you ride out and you close it every single time. And when your grandchildren ask what we did when this country's ground was left unattended, you tell them, the Cowboys rode out, our ground called, and we answered. In closing, in the end, friends, it comes down to the simplest thing I know. You don't have to be a fire chief, you don't have to write a book or fight a federal case or stand here at a podium. You just have to do the thing every person in this room already did tonight. Show up. At the polls in May, at the polls in November, at the board meeting on a Tuesday night, when the summons comes and when the auction opens, when a neighbor's ground calls. Because history is not made by those who watch from the tailgate. It has only ever been made by the people who show up. So continue to show up as you've shown up tonight. Thank you, Weld County. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Don't worry, we had Erik go first because I know he had the longest speech. But his story is really important. And for some of you who know my background, him and I both went to 10th District Court of Appeals and had similar experiences, doing the right thing, trying to fight injustices. And that's how I ended up starting this company, fighting injustices. If your government's not going to do it, and the representatives in this room aren't going to buy this thermal drone, then we're just going to buy it ourselves, right? I mean, that's the thing, is that we can all do this ourselves. Also a reminder, there's some great auction items over there, 10th Mountain Whiskey, 10th Mountain Division, who I ended up deploying with overseas. They're really cool. Go check those out. And if any of the jacked bros in the room need an extra filet mignon, we have some extra steaks. So if you need, especially you two over there. Anyway, so I'm going to give a quick brief very quick, from the brand inspector. Todd Ingley is the brand inspector. He was supposed to be able to come today, but he had another event he couldn't attend to. But this event is for him and all his brand inspectors, right? And I'm gonna try to not do the military thing, like here's your exits, and like the lieutenant colonel in the back understands. So this is from Todd. These are just some of the numbers. So let's just flip to the slide, next slide. And what's the history of the brand inspectors, right? They were formed by the livestock industry in 1865. They became a state agency in 1903, and the Division of Colorado Department of Agriculture took them over in 1971. And what's their mission? It's to protect Colorado's livestock industry from loss, theft, illegal butchering, or stray livestock. And the purpose of the work is to deter theft, facilitating commerce, protect the producers and lenders, and create an accurate animal movement records in all critical areas of the state. So what are their responsibilities? To prevent theft, return the lost cattle, right? Investigate reports. And this is the problem. This is why we're getting the drone, is that they don't have the resources to complete these in a timely manner and actually even recover some of these stolen. So they have to verify this, anything that involves change of ownership, transporting over 75 miles, transporting out of state, transport to auction, transport to slaughter, and even talking to some of these brand inspectors. Apparently the state government thought it was a good idea that they're now switching them over to electric F-150s. Well, I don't know if anyone knows where cattle country is. There ain't no charging stations out there. And this is the type of interference of government that just doesn't make any sense, right? Is that they're putting these policies and making these jobs harder and making it more impossible with more limited resources to do their job. So they're authorized to ride the ranges, issue warnings, conduct vehicle stops, and make arrests, which the deputy is actually going to explain this more thoroughly in his brief. But that's not always accurate. I mean, if these guys catch them in real time, this isn't Yellowstone. We're not making them go to the train station. They have to call actual law enforcement to actually enact some of these things. And if they even find them on time, it might be hours or days until they can get to them. So these are some of the main issues. Why can't the brand inspector fund this themselves? Why can't they go out and get the technology? Why can't they ask the state legislature? It's because the cost of excess unnecessary personnel and things, which there's lots of waste and fraud and abuse, which I'm sure most of the Republican state representatives could tell you about that are going on in the state right now. They don't have the budget to do this. So they're still out there with notepads and out there with inadequate resources, and they just can't get the job done. So this is just like Erik said, stand your ground. We have to answer the call. No one is coming. It's up to us. This is why we decided to do this charity event, is because we're the only ones that are willing to give these people who give the livelihoods of the national food security of this state a solution immediately. And this is how many they have to inspect. I read these numbers and I was like floored. It's like 4 million head of cattle these guys had to go count. How many brand inspectors are in the state? Does anyone know? Now, there's about one per county, and then one state brand inspector, right? Average it out, 64 people. It's 64 people to count 4 million head of just the cattle, and that doesn't include the horses. And then, ironically, I also found this out, you can elect them to please count the sheep, too. Apparently, that's under their charter as well, but we haven't had as much sheep rustling, unless kids are doing mutton busting, they're getting lost somewhere. Right? But that's a lot of work for 64, never mind the ranchers and the ranch hands, to go out and do this. And anyone who works in that industry can tell you it's a lot of hard manual labor. This isn't something we can go out and just do an automated tally in my Excel sheet, enhance, and hit enter. Right? So, and this is the amount of cattle they found and returned. So people are like, oh, they're just getting stolen. No, these guys are going out and finding lost ones and returning them too. And that's also a lot of work, and going across the state and working with the brand inspectors in other states and counting brands with limited resources and no money. And this is how many horses have gone and cattle have gone missing over the years. Horses are actually kind of low. But if you look at just in 2025, still 9 horses were found, 89 cattle were found, 380 cattle are still missing. Still missing. That's over $1.33 million. So we're going to invest into a $10,000 drone. Maybe we're going to save some of these things. Maybe we're going to recover some of them. And that's just one resource for one guy and anything he wants to work with any sheriff's deputies or anything else, right? And if anyone doesn't think that's a lot of money, ask any cattle guy in the room. That's a lot of money. A lot of cattle ranchers got scared. They're like, who is this Dorito guy? What is Leatherwood Development Group? Why would I come to this event? And that's why I was out shaking hands and going to all the livestock auctions and stuff like that. But, you know, there's a group of people that are determined to ensure that these guys continue to suffer, because that means it guarantees them another check and another vote for the next election. And I had to deal with that personally for the last 2 days. There's a lot of people in this state who are intentionally trying to inhibit ranchers and their families to gain their votes and their money, because if we gave them a solution to their cattle theft problem, what do I need these other politicians for? It's time to elect somebody else, right? So it's kind of starving out our own people that support our own communities in order to gain votes, and I personally think that's disgusting. So these are all that's the sheriff's office, that's a phone number you can call if you see any missing cows or anything's getting lost. These are all the agencies that are involved in that. And like I said, this is a real issue that hits real home. And I'm going to invite Deputy Sheriff Matt Turner up here next. He is also running for sheriff of Weld County. I think he's a great man, and he's one of the guys that's how we met originally. We were at a cattle rustling meeting with one of my volunteers here in the office, or in the room, and we talked about this issue. All these ranchers sitting around in the Gailton Fire Department, and not a single elected official was in there. Not a single one for any of these ranching families missing all this cattle. And that's when me and Matt became friends, and I fully support his candidacy because he actually cares and is out there in community. So thank you so much, Sheriff. Appreciate you.
I have Adam's phone. What should I do with it? Hey, so I'm very happy to be here tonight. This is a great group of people in this room, but I'm going to commit to you that I'm going to talk for 10 minutes and then I'm going to let the next person talk, because I can talk for 8 hours, but no one wants to hear that. My name is Matt Turner, and I'm running for sheriff here in Weld County. The election is this November. Please vote for me. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and then what I want to accomplish with this demographic right here. So, first of all, I'd like to be real with people, and tonight I'm standing in front of you wearing a button-up shirt, jeans, and cowboy boots, and that couldn't be further from my personality, but I like to look nice, and I think that's why I chose that tonight. Otherwise, you'd see me wearing shorts, tennis shoes, and a backward baseball cap, and it turns some people off. But I love Weld County. I love the Weld County way, and that's why I live here, and that's why I want to serve this community. When I was in high school, I graduated in 2001, and we all know that September something very bad happened in our country. And being a young man, I thought I was going to go to war. I thought I was going to get drafted. I didn't understand how the world works, but I started thinking a lot about the military. And a few years later, I found myself joining the United States Army. I did that in the end of 2004 and shipped out in 2005. And I found this love for public service. And after 7 years in the military, when I left, I found that I didn't have meaning in my life. I had my family, and that was growing, but I didn't have a purpose when I woke up in the morning. And I wanted to be a teacher. That was what I was going to school for, but very quickly I realized that growing a family on a teacher's wage is very hard, and I needed to find something else. So I went to a police academy, and I had no direction in what I was doing. I was just exploring my options. And about halfway through the police academy, I started applying at jobs, and I applied at the Weld County Sheriff's Office to work in the jail. And I really didn't think I'd get the job. I just wanted to see what a lie detector was like, because it's freaky, okay? I have never sweat so much in my life, and I work out every morning, but I tell you what, that test will make you sweat. And the next thing I know, they were offering me a job. So I started working for John Cook at the time, and then a short time later, Steve Reams took over. And again, I didn't really have any direction other than pass a lie detector test, which I was able to do. But every door was open to me at the sheriff's office, and I found a good friend in Steve Reams that I never imagined would be there. He gave me some opportunities in that office that I've gotten nowhere else in my life. I'm currently serving as the captain of the patrol division, and I've been a captain with the sheriff's office since 2019. I've served in every single division there, to include the jail, administration, and now in patrol. And each area has caused me to learn a lot about our community and what the needs are. So I did go to a meeting a little while ago. When was that, Adam? It was beginning of this year, February, I think. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that there was a problem in the community. It's a community we serve, and I wanted to go see how I could help. And I'm glad I went. I was able to get some of my deputies involved, and start investigating an incident that took place in unincorporated Weld County. So functionally, why am I here today? What am I here to talk about? I am here to talk about that relationship between ranchers and law enforcement, how we can help you, but some things we're going to need from you in order to make that help happen. And then I want to talk about my campaign a little bit and some things I want to accomplish with this community later on. So here's some advice, okay? If we want to work well together, and when Erik was talking about, I think it was Erik that said no one's coming to help. To a certain point, that is right. You guys, many of you guys live out in the boonies, right? You live out in the unincorporated areas where it's hard for deputies to get there within a certain time frame. So there is going to be a portion of, especially of an active event, where you might have to get involved. But we want to come help. If you see someone stealing your cattle, please call 911 right away. My guys will be out there as soon as we can get there. But let's talk about what happens when you find cattle missing. Some of the biggest things we need from you guys is mainly not to touch the scene. I know it's tough when you find fence down to not repair it right away, but we need to check and see if there's evidence that can help us investigate that crime. So if you find fence down, you think you might have cattle missing, call us right away. We'll come out, we'll do an investigation. We actually have a lot of drones. We have a whole fleet of drones that we can put up in the sky right away to see if we can see any evidence or see if we can see people trying to get away with those cows. But the biggest thing is call us. Because I think one of the hardest things for us is we can't do anything if you say, yeah, last year I lost 4 cows. My guys can't investigate anything. And by the way, I'm not saying that's happened, but my guys can't investigate anything at that point. Cops need clues more than anything in order to further an investigation. We talked about the brand inspectors. Those folks, there are a few of them. They do great work when they can get to it, but they can't arrest people. That's where they need us. So the sooner you call us, we can get them involved. If you call them simultaneously, that works great too. But we can work hand in hand with them, and as they develop leads, if there's people that need to be arrested, we're the guys to do that. So we're happy to help out with that as much as possible. I got 4 minutes left. So what I want to talk about is some future stuff here. As I've started thinking about running for sheriff a couple of years ago, I wanted to find ways to get more ingrained with the community that we serve, and not just be reactive, but try to be a little proactive in our response. So there's a number of community groups that I plan on starting next year, and one of those is a ranchers group. My plan is quarterly to have a meeting at the jail, not like, hey, come in the back door, nothing like that. We'll open one of our meeting rooms to you guys, and it'll be a chance for us to hear what problems you're experiencing. And even if that's problems with us, even if you feel that there's responsiveness issues or whatever that may be, that's a chance for me to be open and listen about that. But more so, hey, what problems are you seeing? What kind of crimes are you having in your areas? What are you worried about? All those things. And it may even be a chance for us to look at technology like what Adam's put in front of you guys today too. I've gone and checked out our southern border a few times with a group that looks at border reform and immigration reform, excuse me. 2 places I've seen, Texas and Arizona, they've used technology in amazing ways, even if it's just game cameras. I think, Adam, there's so many options out there, right? This drone is a great one, but I think there's ways we can explore and find more technology out there for you guys to use. Some of it may even be able to be funded by the state. So I want to find ways to work with you guys, and my plan again to have those quarterly meetings is just to increase the amount of time that we're communicating with each other, create that connectivity, and let you know that though it feels like no one's coming to help you, it may be because we're already partnered with you and we're there all along the way. So that's my goal. This was, again, a short talk. Unlike Erik, I didn't write a book. My mom did save some of my coloring books, and I wish she wouldn't have, but those will never get released. So I'm a man of few words, but I am a man of great action. So my hope is to partner with you guys next year and do amazing things. Adam, that's really all I got. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great night.
So now I get to introduce the person you're all here to see tonight. So it's kind of funny because I've always been accused in this county in the political world, not to get into politics, but like Adam Dorito doesn't actually do any of the things he says he does, and he doesn't go to all the places that he does, and he doesn't fly around the world and do things. I guess I just Photoshop myself into Instagram all the time. But no, I met Miss Elizabeth Haney at Mar-a-Lago a few years ago when I was really getting involved into the national side of politics, when I realized that my local representatives were absolutely failing me, when I went through all the way to the 10th District Court of Appeals and they failed me, when I went to the Secretary of Defense and then President Biden at the time, to reform these military actions, which was why I started Leatherwood Development Group. I said, I guess I'm just gonna go try to do this myself and literally just go to the next guy and show up at his house. And that's basically what I did. And I met Elizabeth and we started talking and she introduced me to so many amazing people over the years. We've been around the country doing lots of great things and coordinating with great people. Even Mr. Finberger's here. Thank you so much for flying out from Colorado. If any of you guys have, especially Scott, if you want to talk about energy and nuclear stuff, this guy literally like builds reactors underneath the table when you're not paying attention. That's what he does. My objective moving forward is to bring people of influence in the younger generation into this state to actually start changing things. Because I am sick and tired of nothing getting done. And if that means I have to do it, if that means Erik has to do it, apparently we just have to replace people on our own, and that is the intention. But Elizabeth is she's the director of major gifts at the Claremont Institute. If you don't know what that is, I suggest you Google it. And she is also the White House liaison to Hollywood for the President of the United States and all those great people that we work with there. And I am so excited that she's here tonight, and she flew all the way across the country just to be here for this event. And I'm excited for her to really motivate everyone in the state of Colorado that we don't have any lost hope, that change is coming, and that we can actually do something to save this country. And thank you so much, Miss Elizabeth Haney.
Okay, let's give it up for Adam Dorito for bringing us out here and educating us on cattle theft. This is actually an issue that I thought was only in Yellowstone. I didn't know it was a real issue, but my name's Elizabeth Haney, and my main work is I'm a director of major gifts at the Claremont Institute. I live in the Bay Area, and I am a connector between the political world and the conservative political world and technology. And I put on a lot of underground events for billionaires. I'm also in Austin a lot, who want to get more involved in politics. And I'm so happy to be here for Colorado's 150th anniversary. Thank you so much for having me. Since I'm from San Francisco Bay Area, we all think that our beef comes from Whole Foods. Except for me, now that I've been out here, I know it does not come from Whole Foods. It comes from amazing ranchers like you guys. And one of the main things that we're interested in at the Claremont Institute is recovering the American way of life. And cattle ranchers really are the backbone of the American way of life. And from what I understand, Weld County is the 4th largest beef producer in the nation. And like Adam was saying, if this gets threatened, it becomes a food security problem. And apparently last year, over 180,000 cattle disappeared, which amounted to over $800,000 in losses. And these cattle did not just go take a vacation, they were stolen, apparently by rustlers and cartels. And that's a huge, huge problem. Definitely, it's not something that we think about in other parts of the country, and I'm really grateful that we are bringing awareness to this problem. And another thing that I don't like to see is that this cattle theft makes it so there's an undermining of the American cattle and beef industry, because more and more I'm seeing Argentinian imported beef. And the cattle industry really is the bloodline of America and this nation. And there is some good news. Because it is 2026, we have technology to solve this. And I just want to say thank you to Adam Dorito. He is actually the first person that is going to donate to Weld County Brand Inspector the very first Matrice 4T drone, which can spot these thieves from hundreds and thousands of yards away. They're thermal drones, so they detect body heat. And apparently we only need 30 of these drones. And There's $10,000 each, so about $300,000 would really shore up a lot of this cattle thievery. And I would love for you guys even to give just $10 today to help Adam and to get closer to solving this problem. It's not that many drones that we need. American beef is the best. I was actually recently in Argentina, and their beef is not that great. I gotta be honest, it's not that amazing. And I wanna have a shout out because I do deal with a lot of technologists and people in tech. Elon Musk, if you're listening, I'll put this on X. I know you're spending hundreds of $millions on America PAC to help the GOP win in November for the midterms. And that I just want to remind you that politicians come and go, but the American ranchers, they're generational, and they really are the backbone. They're here for many, many years. So may I suggest to Elon Musk a small donation of $300,000, for this Matrice 4T drones. SpaceX wants to make their own drones. We'll take those too. But let's stop pretending like Argentinian beef is good. It's not. So let's make American beef great again, and let's stop the steal of American cattle. Thank you.
So we're gonna have dessert now. We have this amazing custom-made cake by a local provider. Go take a look at it. It's really pretty before we cut it. Go check out the silent auction. And I would like to announce there was a lot of people who thought that this entire fundraiser was a scam, that apparently we were just going to hold the fundraiser and I was going to take all your money. No, that is not the case. I am proud to announce that although some of the sponsors weren't able to come, we've been working with people, not just in Colorado. Elizabeth and I and some other people have been contacting people outside of the state to get involved in this issue. We were able to purchase and we will be donating that Matrice 4T drone. And it's actually here tonight. Someone want to grab the box? No? It's under the stairs. It's under the stairs over there. It's pretty cool. We were going to give it to Todd directly tonight, but Todd's not here. And obviously, I trust Matt, but I'm not letting him drive home with it. But no, I'm excited that the asset, we did raise enough money to purchase this asset. This asset is going to be provided to the state brand inspector or any of the neighboring county brand inspectors who want to use it. And I already talked to Matt. He's got like I said, he's got a drone flight pilot associated people. You have to have an FAA license to operate some of these things. You have to follow the law. The FAA gets really mad when you crash them into helicopters. It's not recommended. So I think that was the biggest pushback I got for some of these cattle guys. They're like, "What do you mean I got to go get a license?" I'm like, you can't just take this extremely capable, expensive thing, put it in the air in Denver airspace. DIA gets very mad, and so does ATC. I don't even know what ATC is, So yes, we'll provide some training. Our great sheriff's deputies already have a drone fleet. There could be some cross-agency integration, but I'm excited. This it was successful, and like I said, we are still fundraising because, like I said, we want to keep this program going. And this is what Leatherwood Development Group will be doing in this state for at least the next year until things fix themselves in DC. Maybe we can get some new people who actually want to pass some bills. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to be going back down to the Aspen Acres fire. We've already got about $5,000 already of donations lined up, and we'll be convoying back down there to provide immediate relief, right? So this is what we're doing. We're doing real impact work. And if you're a farmer rancher or you're another constituent with a different issue, maybe the alfalfa guy's got an issue, contact me. You could reach out to me on Leatherwood Development Group. I have my website, adamdreher.com. Shoot me an email. Give me a reason to fight for you. Give me a reason to get a bunch of my volunteers and people in DC to give you a purpose and find the next problem. That is what we are trying to do, is that if local politicians want to get elected and promise to support your industry or your way of life and they're not doing it, then we're going to provide some kind of small impact relief. Because like I said, no one is coming and it's up to us. And we're going to do it. And we are doing it. And I'm so proud and honored that you're all here. Please donate on the QR code. Check out the silent auction. Enjoy dessert and the cake. And come find me. Come find Elizabeth. Come find Erik. Come talk to any of our volunteers tonight. And please socialize. Grab some stuff from the bar. I know I need another old fashioned after this. But no, you guys are, I am truly indebted to you. And if everyone in the room, spread the word about what we're doing. Kim Monson, I know you're a huge political voice in here, and thank you so much for being here. I'm great that you're gracious that you're here too. But we need to find solutions to help real people. And this is why a lot of real people don't want to get involved, whether you're a Democrat, Libertarian, conservative, or unaffiliated. They see what happens in the state and they say, I want nothing to do with this. I'm going to go back and close that cattle gate, slam it shut. I want nothing to do with you people. But we can change that. We can change it by real action, standing on your ground, and doing the right thing. Because we're Americans, and I have traveled all over the world, and I have lived in plenty of third world country, unpleasant places. And I will tell you, we live in the best country in the world, and I've been everywhere. And I don't care what anybody says. Even Scotland, love Scotland, don't like the toilets or the showers. They're made for tiny people. I don't know what it is, but you get in the shower, you turn on, it's like a Mr. Bean cartoon. You turn on the lever, you turn around, this shuts it off, then it's cold, then it's hot, and then you don't know what's going on. They don't have any soap, it's really weird. It's very odd. Go American plumbing. I salute my toilet every time I come back to the United States. It's the first thing. I love American indoor plumbing, and I am so gracious for it. And talk to Mr. Finberg, especially you energy nerds. Like, I'm an oil and gas. Maybe the next thing we'll do is like energy stuff. But we're going to start bringing people of importance out here. I'm going to keep working with, and thank you so much to Ashley and Brittany and Meredith and Renee. They've helped me so much on so many things. But I'm tired of waiting for solutions. I'm ready to provide solutions, and I'm going to do it whether you like me or not, whether all the mean things you want to post about me on Facebook, I don't care. I really don't care. Or all those single text message threads where I wake up and I'm like, why are you people up at 2 o'clock in the morning tagging me? Go to sleep. Go get a job. I don't know what to tell you. Once again, thank you so much. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you so much for all those who supported us and the sponsors outside of here for actually helping us make this happen. And let's keep this program going. Thank you so much.